Now we're going to talk about the nurse as a leader. This is part 1. Leadership occurs anytime a person attempts to influence the beliefs, opinions, or behaviors of other people. It is a complex, highly important, and challenging skill expected of all nurses. Nurses study leadership to learn how to work well with other people. So when someone says the word leader, what image or description or definition do you think about? Leaders. They attempt to influence the beliefs, opinions, or behaviors of a person or group. They guide people and groups to accomplish common goals. May not have formal authority, but are still able to influence others. Managers. They coordinate people, time, and supplies to achieve desired outcomes in a defined area of responsibility. They have an appointed management position and a formal line of authority and accountability. So let's talk a little bit about leadership versus management. Leadership is the ability to guide or influence others regardless of whether they have an appointed management position. Management is the coordination of resources such as time, people, and supplies to achieve outcomes, and they have an appointed management position. Leaders are not born, they are developed with nourishment. Leaders exist influencing others even though they may not have an official title nor have the formal authority. When you talk about power and authority, leadership and management require power and authority and able to motivate people to participate in particular behaviors. Let's do some definition here. Authority is the legitimate right to direct others through an authorized position in an organization. Power is the ability to motivate people to get things done with or without the formal right granted by the organization. There are different types of power, such as reward power. That comes from the ability to reward others for complying and may include such rewards as money, desired assignments, or acknowledgement of accomplishments. Then we have coercive power, and this is the opposite of reward power. It's based on fear of punishment for failure to comply. Sources of coercive power include withheld pay increases, undesired assignments, verbal and written warnings, and or termination. Legitimate power is based on an official position in the organization. Through legitimate power, the manager has the right to influence staff members, and staff members have an obligation to accept that influence. Referent power comes from the follower's identification with the leader. The admired and respected nurse is able to influence other nurses because of their desire to emulate her. Expert power. It's based on knowledge, skills, and information. For example, nurses who have expertise in areas such as physical assessment or technical skills or keep up with current information on important topics will gain respect from others. Informational power. This is based on a person's possession of information that is needed by others. And then we have connection power. This is based on a person's relationship or affiliation with other people who are perceived as being powerful. We have formal leadership. That's practiced by the nurse who is appointed to an approved position and is given authority by the organization to act. Then we have informal leadership. This is exercised by the person who has no official authority to act but is able to influence others in the work group. Here are some strategies for working with informal leaders. Understand their source of power. Involve them in decision making and change implementation processes. Clearly communicate goals and work expectations, and do not ignore the attempts to undermine teamwork and change processes. Now we're going to discuss a few different leadership theories. Trait theory. This is based on the assumption that leaders are born with certain leadership characteristics. Traits associated with leadership include intelligence, alertness, dependability, energy, drive, enthusiasm, ambition, decisiveness, self-confidence, cooperativeness, and technical mastery. Interactional theory. They integrate dynamics of interaction between leader, worker, and leadership situation. The effective leadership depends on organizational culture, values of the leader and followers, influence of the leader or manager, complexities of the situation, the work to be accomplished, and the environment. The contemporary concept of leadership suggests that there are two types of leaders. There's the transactional and the transformational. Transactional leader. They are concerned with the day-to-day operations of the facility or unit. Transformational leaders are committed to organizational goals and clearly communicate vision and direction. They empower the work group to accomplish these goals. They impart meaning and challenge to work. They are admired and emulated. They also provide mentoring to individual staff members on the basis of a need. 9 tasks of a leader consist of envisioning goals, affirming values, motivating, managing, achieving a workable level of unity, explaining, serving as a symbol, representing the group externally, and renewing. There is a theory called the New Science Leadership Theory. There are 3 types of leaders. We have autocratic, laissez-faire, and democratic. There are other types of leaders, but these are the 3 we will focus on. Each style is based upon the characteristics of the amount of control by the manager and the amount of involvement the staff participates in decision making. We're going to discuss each one of these in more detail. First, let's look at autocratic. They're dominant, they control, they give orders and expect orders to be followed. They're task-oriented. Decisions are made from top downward. They lack effective communication skills. When referring to work environment, they use terms like I, my, and mine. They squelch creativity. They have difficulty adapting to new concepts, ideas, or options. Now let's discuss laissez-faire. The group has total autonomy. They're passive, they provide little direction, they rely on the strengths of each team member, produces the most creativity and are the most flexible, works if the group has worked together for a long time and are well motivated, and they may become complacent and dissatisfied. And now we'll discuss democratic. They encourage others within the group to develop their leadership abilities. Each person buys into the project and goal and feels a part of the team. Staff trust this leader. They make final decisions after gathering the input and the ideas from the group. They recognize the staff often has the best ideas. They are most frequently used words such as we and our. They are effective communicators. The group and individual efforts are generously acknowledged and applauded. The leader admits to their own errors. Today's healthcare system requires the use of a democratic or participative management style that involves the staff in patient safety, quality improvement, and patient-centered care. Now we're going to talk about leadership and management skills. There are 3 major areas required for effective leadership. This is according to Hersey and Blanchard in 1988. We have technical skills, which consist of clinical expertise and nursing knowledge. We have human skills. This is the ability and judgment to work with people in an effective leadership role. And we have conceptual skills. This is the ability to understand the complexities of the overall organization and to recognize how one's own area of management fits into the overall organization. At the staff nurse level of management, a considerable amount of technical skill and clinical expertise is needed. As one advances from lower levels to higher levels in the organization, more advanced conceptual skills are needed. Now we're going to talk about leadership concepts. If leadership is seen as the ability to influence, what qualities must the leader possess? Well, these leadership concepts or qualities are empowerment, advocacy, mutuality, facilitation, professionalism, communication, teaching, interdependence, resource development and management, delegation, and accountability. Now we're going to discuss some management theories. There is the scientific manager. They focus on results, the number of clients provided with care, number of procedures, and adequate equipment and documentation. Okay, when we look at the human relations-oriented manager theory, they focus on employee morale. They encourage motivation to do best. They care about hopes, dreams, and concerns. And they feel that contented employees are more productive. Then we have the organizational theory. This provides a framework for understanding complex organizations. First, we have Weber's bureaucracy theory. It's defined characteristics of bureaucracy, including authority and ability to apply general rules to specific cases. They emphasize rules instead of individuals and competencies instead of favoritism. And they fail to recognize the complexity of human behavior and constantly changing environments. We have systems theory. They view organization as a set of the interdependent parts that together form a whole. Anything that affects one aspect of the organization will affect the other parts. And they have open systems that suggest that the organization is affected by not only internal changes, but also external environmental changes. And I'm sure everybody's kind of familiar with chaos theory. They attempt to account for complexity and randomness in organizations. They view complicated behaviors, situations, and variations as predictable. That reflects cultural diversity and constantly fluctuating patient census and staffing shortages. Now let's look at some management functions. 5 management functions are interrelated. Okay, so first we have planning. This is the first managerial function and involves 4 steps. 1. Identify the goals. 2. Identify resources needed. 3. Determine steps of action. And 4. Determine a timeline for achievement. Number 2. Organizing. Second function that establishes a formal structure that defines the lines of authority, communication, and decision-making within an organization. Number 3, staffing. Third function, consisting of hiring and managing staff to accomplish the work of the institution. Then we have directing. This is the fourth function, to direct personnel and activities to accomplish goals. 5, controlling. Fifth function, and required to make sure employees accomplish goals while maintaining a high quality of performance. They must establish standards, action plans to improve performance, and evaluate employee performance through appraisals and feedback. It is important to remember that different phases of the process occur simultaneously. Processes should be circular, with the manager always working towards improving the quality of healthcare, patient safety, and staff and customer satisfaction. We're going to further discuss in detail the 5 functions of management. Planning. Decide in advance what to do, how, when, and where it is to be done, and who it is to do it. All management functions are based on planning. The important components of planning are mission and philosophy, strategic planning, such as long range, which extends 3 to 5 years into the future, goals and objectives, they state the actions necessary to achieve this strategic plan, and then operational planning, and this encompasses the day-to-day activities of the organization. Now for organizing, we're going to establish formal structure to define the lines of authority, communication, and decision making. We're going to define roles and responsibilities for each level of management and staff. We're going to coordinate activities with other departments. We're going to communicate to ensure a smooth workflow, and we're going to look at the components of organizing. We're going to use an organizational chart, policies and procedures, and job descriptions. So now let's talk about staffing. First, we want to determine the number and type of staff needed. We're going to recruit, interview, select, and assign personnel. We will make sure that we orient, train, socialize, and develop staff members. We're going to implement ongoing staff development programs. And we're going to implement creative and flexible scheduling. Research has indicated that RN work satisfaction factors include input into organizational decision-making, organizational leaders who actively promote cohesive work environments, high level of support and encouragement provided by the supervisor, high autonomy, paid time off benefit, distributive justice, promotional opportunities, and/or strong group cohesion. Now, when we talk about directing, we want to clearly communicate performance expectations. Create a motivating climate and team spirit. You can do this through positive reinforcement in the form of a sincere thank you. This is a powerful motivational resource. For positive reinforcement to be effective, it must be specific, with praise given for a particular task, occur as close as possible to the time of the achievement, be spontaneous and unpredictable, and be given for a genuine accomplishment. You will need to be a role model for expected behaviors, and manage conflict and facilitate collaboration. Now, let's finally discuss controlling. You want to ensure that employees accomplish goals while maintaining high quality performance. Establish clear performance or outcome standards. Measure and evaluate performance against established standards. Determine an action plan to improve performance. Some resources for establishing performance standards are written organizational policies and procedures, standards for the practice of professional nursing developed by the ANA, or standards for professional nursing specialty practices. How you can evaluate employee performance is through formal annual evaluation process and frequent feedback and coaching, consistent daily feedback and coaching, clarify expectations, improve work quality, allow the manager to correct problems before they become serious, and then result of a routine performance evaluation should be mutual goal setting designed to meet the employee's training, educational, and work improvement needs. This concludes part 1 of the Nurse as a Leader. If you have any questions related to the content, contact the instructor.